Hi folks and welcome to today's video. Scared about your lumbar herniated disc MRI report. Now, first time here, I make a lot of great content for those folks that are suffering with low back pain problems such as sciatica nerve pain, lumbar stenosis, lumbar arthritis, herniated discs, bulging discs. If that is you, hit that subscribe button. But today, I'm going to be explaining some of those scary terms: stenosis, Schmorl's nodes, herniated disc, bulging disc, protrusion, extrusion. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Hi folks, so welcome. So today I want to talk about MRI reports. What does it mean to the average person, okay? You're probably here watching this video because you've had a herniated disc report from your lumbar spine, bulging disc, you've had back pain, whatever. You've gone in, seen the doctor, sent you off, MRI, you've got the results, gives you a piece of paper, the results are on there, and there's words like protrusion, extrusion, nerve impingement, stenosis, Schmorl's nodes, very scary sounding words, but what does it mean, okay? And sometimes in itself, the MRI report can sound very, very scary because very often the doctors don't have time to explain it all to you. Because again, the MRI reports, they're made for the radiographers and the doctors, okay? They're not designed for the average patient. So luckily, I'm here today to try to clear up some of that confusion, try to help you understand what those terms actually mean, what the ones you should be concerned about, the ones you can do something about, and the ones which are completely normal for the average person to have in their lumbar spine. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. So there's a picture that's going to flash up on the screen there, and it's going to explain the disc itself. Now, you may have in your MRI report bulging disc, protrusion, extrusion, maybe even sequestration, okay? Now, a healthy disc has got a center, kind of jelly donut center, and that's surrounded with fibers, collagen-type fibers called annulus fibers. And a disc bulge, you'll see in that sort of far side picture there, is where there's a little bit of movement of the disc starts to push out, okay? Then we move into what's called a protrusion. Now, a protrusion, the picture will flash off for a second. If this is the edge of the disc and it starts to stick out here, a protrusion is where the top part, which is sticking out, is narrower than the base, okay? So this is the disc here. This is starting to pop out there like so, okay? It's wider at the base here, sorry, and narrower at the top, okay? If it becomes an extrusion, picture will flash back up again. The extrusion is where, flash away, the material pops out like this and becomes wider, which has actually gone out. And so the base near your disc is here, and this is the section which is protruded or herniated out. Okay, so it's an extrusion. It's bigger than a protrusion, can quite often touch the nerve. Now you may also see what's called a sequestration. So in the picture as well, that's where a bit of the disc actually comes out and breaks off. Okay, so that's what those terms actually mean. Now, when that disc pushes out, it can push on the nerve, and that is your sciatica nerve. And people often talk about sciatica, which is that nerve pain running down the back of the leg. Okay, now there's a video is going to pop up in just a second. All credit goes to Veritas videos for this, okay? I didn't make this one, right? So I'll put a link to that specific video in my description, but that explains the disc herniation process very, very well. And there's also a little bit there you'll see of it touching the nerve. So let's cut to that video.
A spinal disc consists of two main parts, the jelly-like nucleus pulposus in the disc center, and the outermost layers, collectively called the annulus fibrosus. These two components facilitate the spine's movement and provide support for the vertebrae. Disc degeneration or trauma can cause the nucleus to herniate through the weakened layers of the outer disc and leak out of the annulus fibrosus into the spinal canal. In the case of a lumbar herniated disc, the weak spot in the annulus fibrosus is directly underneath the spinal nerve root, so a herniation in this area can put direct pressure on the nerve. The nerve root extends down the leg, and any type of pinching or pressure on the nerve in the lower spine can cause pain, numbness, tingling, or weakness to radiate along the path of the nerve down the leg. However, many people have shown a herniated disc on MRI scans, yet have no associated pain, so not all herniated discs will cause symptoms.
So thanks again to Veritas Health for those fantastic videos. Again, there'll be a link in the description down below to go and watch that yourself if you want separately and have a look at their website. They have a lot of good explainer videos to help people understand and comprehend their low back pain problem. Now, here's the thing. Many people walk around with herniated discs, bulging discs, and absolutely no pain whatsoever. In fact, in the research, that will say that over 60% of people aged over 40 do have herniated or bulging discs with no pain, no issues. Sometimes the MRI report will show X, Y, and Z. You'll have no pain, nothing at all. Other people will have much lesser MRI findings as far as the sort of intensity signal goes, and they will have pain. Okay, so it's not the end of the world if you do find bad findings on your MRI report, okay, or what you may think is bad findings, all right? It is very common to have these issues. It's quite often a natural progress of aging. The spine ends up deteriorating in that manner. And of course, how much load you put on it, if you're relatively tall, etc., etc. Okay, hard-working life, manual labor, these things all play a part. Okay, now you've also seen on the video, they talked about touching the nerve, the sciatica nerve, when the disc pushes out, extrudes, protrudes. Now, sciatica nerve pain, which runs down the back of the leg, is the longest, sort of thickest nerve, it's about as thick as my thumb in the body. And you may see on your MRI report sciatica nerve entrapment. It may say impinging the S1 nerve root. It may say nerve compression. And it'll usually typically say S1 nerve root, which is the very base of the sciatica nerve where it comes out at L5-S1. And you may be experiencing pain, like sort of some tingling or pain in your glutes, burning down the back of your hamstring into your leg, okay? The back of the leg all the way into the foot. And that means that the disc itself, it could just be touching or it could be pushing and actually impinging and sort of pressing on the nerve itself, which is giving you that more severe pain. The more pressure that's pushed, of course, on the nerve, the more pain you will have. You may have pain down the outside of the thigh. This is not quite as common. It typically comes from the lateral femoral cutaneous nerve, which comes out of L2, L3, around about that region there. And you may have sort of weakness or sort of pain in the top of your thigh and on the side of your thigh as well. Okay. More common though is the sciatica nerve being impinged by the L5-S1 disc at that position. All right. Now, I hope that's helped with that section. Now we're going to move on to what a lot of people often see in the result is stenosis. So let's dive into stenosis. All right, so let's talk about stenosis. I've changed locations. I'm just giving you different views of my apartment here, just to make the video a bit more entertaining as we jump from section to section. So stenosis simply means a narrowing, okay? And you generally get three types of stenosis. You may have heard of the central canal stenosis. And this is the section where you've got the central canal of your spinal column where the nerves run through, and that could be slightly narrowed. It's a very common thing to happen with age. Now I can go into sort of gibber about it here, but I've got another great Veritas video. It's going to pop up and it's going to explain the three types and areas of stenosis. So let's get after it.
Spinal stenosis causes a constriction of the space for nerves in the spine. In the back of the lumbar spine, each vertebra has an opening that contains a bundle of nerves. On each side, a nerve root branches off and exits the spine through a space in the back of the vertebra called the foramen. Normally, there is plenty of room for the nerves in the spinal canal and for the nerve roots exiting the spine. With lumbar spinal stenosis, degenerative changes, such as bone spurs, can constrict the space for the nerves in the spinal canal. Bone spurs and other problems can also affect the foramen, constricting the space for a nerve root as it exits the spine. Symptoms of lumbar spinal stenosis may include pain and/or weakness or numbness that radiate from the lower back into the leg.
So you'll see the different sections there. You get the central section, foraminal, lateral areas of the vertebra itself, where the thickening can happen, the stenosis. It is, generally very common as we age. It is not a death sentence by any means. It is typically, if it's more severe and there is nerve compression, then that typically is a problem which will require quite intense physiotherapy and also potentially an operation down the line as well. Okay, now we're going to move on from stenosis and talk now about, you may have seen disc degeneration, degenerative discs, desiccated discs. What does all that mean? Let's find out. So on your report, you may have seen something like DDD, which stands for degenerative disc disease. It may say a loss of a signal height, loss of signal. Your MRI results, if you look at the CD pictures, the disc might be a darker color, not bright white, okay? Desiccated discs, it could say lack of water. What does all these things mean, okay? All right, so basically your disc itself, the majority is made up of water, all right? And when they do an MRI report, they will talk about signal intensity, and if it's bright white, it generally means there's a lot of hydration in that particular disc, okay? But it can start to darken as it loses water, right? So the disc may be dark, and they will often say that the disc is like dehydrated or lacking, and there'll be some terminology around the sort of hydration factor. This is quite common as we age, okay? The way the disc gets its nutrients, etc., is through osmosis, okay? It's a diffusion of liquids across the cell membrane. As we age, the composition of your disc will change. It becomes more collagenous, more tough and fibrous. There's not as much water content per se, okay? So it's quite common to have darker looking discs as you age. And the degeneration, they call it degenerative disc disease, it's not so much a disease, it's more a fact of this, that's the kind of part of the natural aging process, that as we get older, the disc loses water, they become more dry, for want of a better word, more collagenous, okay? And it's not the end of the world. Now, in severe cases, people get into like their 60s and 70s, they can get a lot of end plate irregularities. The disc literally can just become like nothing, right? It becomes bone on bone. But if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s, and you have some of these changes, again, it's not the end of the world. It is quite common to see. It is more the natural progression of the spine. And with good rehabilitation, good strengthening, you can offset a lot of these changes and sort of stall their progression, okay? So having that, diagnosis, oh my God, my discs are dehydrated. Look, you can have a little bit of dehydration in that disc. It will show black on the MRI. They'll report it as dehydrated disc, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your disc is dried up. Okay, by simply going to bed at night, wake up in the morning, a lot of that water will come back into the disc. Keeping yourself well hydrated. The gentle action, like walking, is very good and always prescribed, because the action of walking creates a kind of sponge-like effect where you compress, decompress the disc, which brings nutrients and water in, okay? So if you see that, don't panic. It is a very normal thing to see on an MRI if you're over 40, 45 years old, okay? And it's not always linked to pain. It's just that you could look at it as wrinkles on your face, okay? As we get older, it's a sort of part of the aging process, all right? All right, we're going to dive a little bit deeper, literally dive deeper, into something called Schmorl's nodes. What on earth are they calling it? Let's find out. Now, Schmorl's nodes, they do sound scary. So like something you find at the bottom of the sea or something like Schmorl. But actually, I did mention that we're going to dive into this, because your typical herniation will go posterior, backwards, okay, laterally. But a Schmorl's node is where the disc will actually travel up into the vertebra above or below, okay? And it sort of goes into the bony surface of the vertebral end plate. So it is like a herniation, but it is either vertical, up or down. Now, basically, they typically don't cause pain. They can be caused sometimes by a heavy compression. So if somebody's like a lot of jumping, or they've had a car crash, parachute accident perhaps, that heavy compressive force will often cause that type of thing to happen. As I said, it's very rare that will cause pain. Sometimes when it's just occurred, there can be bone swelling, edema basically, at the surface of the bone. That can cause some pain. But in general, they don't contribute towards, sciatica, for example. So they are what we call like an incidental finding on an MRI, okay? All right, so let's put it all together. Should you be panicking when you've had your MRI report and you've got herniated discs, Schmorl's nodes, bulging discs, something touching a nerve? Okay, is it time to panic? No, okay? Please understand, 80-90% of people with bulging herniated discs that do have manifested as pain, sciatica pain, back pain, they do recover with conservative treatment. Yes, it takes a lot of time, okay? But I've made a lot of videos on my channel which help people from basically day one of herniation right through progressive rehab, getting yourself better, back on top. I do a free advice call as well to help people understand their issues and give them some things to try, go away and try, okay? So no, it is not the end of the world, and you're most likely going to recover from it. I know the language that is used can be very scary in an MRI. You know, a lot of times today, doctors don't have time to explain it to the patient. And, you know, you're left feeling kind of helpless. You don't know where to turn. So hopefully this video has been of some use and has helped you understand what some of things mean. And as I said earlier, you can have, you know, two people. One is excruciating pain. This guy has no pain. They both get an MRI. This person here has, like, you know, 3 herniations, disc touching a nerve, but he's got no pain. This guy has a small disc bulge, slightly touching the nerve, and he's in absolute agony, okay? There's, you know, basically the MRI doesn't define you, okay, at the end of the day. It's more your actions and what you do about it. And if you're, you know, working on your rehab, you're strengthening, mobility, stabilization, getting out, being as active as you can, that is going to do the world of good to get you back to where you want to be. Having a plan. And you can probably just see behind me here, actually, here. Those that do follow me, those that have subscribed to my channel, subscribe, will know that I had my own herniation like 18, 19 years ago. It actually came back last year. Well, came back. I hurt myself, basically. And I've got my current kind of weekly routine here to keep on top of my own rehab as well. I'm almost back to being pain-free. So I practice what I preach, and I want to help as many people out there who's in the same condition as me. And as I said, guys, I've got a lot of videos out there. You know, go and check them out. Don't worry too much about those MRI findings. It's more about how you feel, what you can do, you know, activity-wise, etc. If you need help, reach out to me. I'm here to help as many people as possible. Don't forget, of course, to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.